Hello, this is Father Rich. I'm here in front of the tabernacle in the main sanctuary at Our Lady of Peace Church. And our next masterpiece is number 15 on our list, The Procession to Calvary by Pieter Bruegel. And I guess this series that we're doing on the book of the 75 masterpieces every Christian should know. And I'm actually have a different book up here. Don't know if you'd recognize one like it, but in 1987, Martin Handford, a British I guess writer, but also artist, started the series of books called Where's Waldo? And so the whole activity that you do is that they have these busy scenes of going on in the world and life, and it's up to you to find where Waldo, the picture of Waldo, is in each scene. And the author mentions this book as what he sees kind of as part of the approach of the Pieter Bruegel, the artist that was from Germany, or I guess technically, let's see here, he was from the Netherlands and then living in Antwerp and then spent some time in other parts of Europe. This actual painting it was done in 1564, so we're making our way through the 1500s a little bit. But they mention that the scene of the Procession of Calvary, it's really, and what he would regularly do is show these broad landscapes with these multitude of activity and people, so that the actual scene that he's focusing on almost gets lost. And particularly Jesus is right here in the middle, but it takes you a while to even find him in the midst of all that's going on. And really part of the artist's message there was this idea of seeing Jesus amidst the common life in our daily activity. You know, I'm here before the tabernacle, and I think of going to some of these huge European churches that I've had a chance to visit, and looking for the Blessed Sacrament and the place where Jesus in the Eucharist is reposed. And you always know that we have to look for the sanctuary lamp. Here at Our Lady of Peace, it jumps out at you because of the limited space and what's up here in the sanctuary. But in some of these huge churches, it could be almost like a Where's Waldo to find where the Blessed Sacrament was within one of the side chapels in these multiple chapel basilicas and cathedrals. So it made me think of that. We're blessed here. But this idea of in our day-to-day activity, do we see Christ at work? You know, almost, you know, and this idea of stepping back daily, and the tradition of the examen of conscience at the end of the day, not just to look at the sins we want to ask for forgiveness for, but where did I see God working in today? And realizing that it's not always obvious, you know, in your face, but amidst the day-to-day activity. And I think that's a great message of the different artwork that he did. One of the unique things they say that he contributed to the history and kind of the advancement of art, he took these sweeping landscapes and then filled them with people. It kind of said how prior to this, you'd either have a landscape or a close-up of a person, but he kind of took the landscape, fills it with people, but then also because there's so much going on, it kind of still seems to highlight the landscape and the weather. They say he was really one of the first artists to show the changing of the seasons in a dramatic way, almost to feel the weather, so to speak, in ways that maybe hadn't been done in the past. I also makes me think in this Procession of Calvary of the chance that I had to do the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem. And the first time I did it was on a Friday, Good Friday. I was blessed to go with a pilgrimage from my seminary. And we were there on Good Friday, and it was chaos in the middle of the afternoon, and we're trying to do the way of the cross and pray and carry the cross. And I remember being frustrated, like, you know, don't those people know, these people know this is a holy day? Give us some space, let us have some quiet so we can enter into this prayer. And then the more I thought and prayed about it, I said, this is exactly what Jesus would have experienced. Just being led through the bustling streets, you know, with his cross that was his instrument of execution. Nobody really even seeming to pay attention to what's going on. So now, the other times I've been to the Holy Land, the groups that I've gone with have suggested doing it at like 5 in the morning when the streets are bare and it's dark. And that gives you a whole different experience and a very meditative and focused experience. And I'm glad I've had a chance to do both. But this idea of seeing, you know, God in the ordinary, not missing the God of the universe coming to us in different ways through different people and circumstances in our day-to-day busy lives. and what an important kind of skill it is to develop that ability to see God in our day-to-day life and to be intentional about it. The other thing they mention here is it's very often, it wasn't unusual with the middle-age artists, is that they depict some parts of it in first century depiction, like Jesus and the group that's Mary, St. John, the beloved disciple, and the two women that were at the foot of the cross, kind of depicted in first century garb, but then everybody else really depicted in 16th century garb, kind of the way that the artist Pieter Bruegel would have known them. So always interesting to see how the artist sometimes imposes their present day experience on the past and brings that into the artwork. They mention how Bruegel did a lot of different work, and I just to go through a litany of some of his pieces, his artwork, which I am interested to go and look at, that I'm not that familiar with, but Battle Between Carnival and Lent, children's games, Flemish Proverbs, the Parable of the Blind. It goes on, the Parable of the Sower. So his biblical themes were his most prominent and most important. The Flight into Egypt, Hunters in the Snow, the Corn Harvest, so that some of those landscape themes. And then again, going back to the Procession of Calvary, which is today's painting. Two other famous paintings, the Tower of Babel from 1563, the Massacre of the Innocents, the Census at Bethlehem in 1566. So a lot of religious themes, and all kind of depicted in the same way, with a lot of activity, a lot of, images and people and objects in the artwork. So a great lesson that we learned from Pieter Bruegel, from his Procession of Calvary, hopefully can inspire us to take more time to see Jesus in the midst of our daily lives, our busy lives, and to have that grace of God, to see God working and present in the regular activity of life. So thank you for joining me. Our next masterpiece will be The Burial of the Count of Orgas. That's El Greco, a famous Spanish painter, and that was from 1586. So look forward to learning more about El Greco. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great day. God bless.